Once upon a time, in an ancient town in China, to be exact, in a small village that's surrounded by rainforests, among all the living bats, insects, and other creatures, there was a poor woman with a baby on its way in his last months. We go to the depth of their souls. There was a joyful beacon at his hill, with an adventurous spirit, has gone out of its warm home to seek for another exploratory adventure, and out of the sudden, the teasel has lost its way between the stomach walls to the fetal cells. With a voice filled with fear, it screamed, asking for help from its battalion, saying, "Help! I see tripled viruses!" Wondering what was going on, out of nowhere, a white blood cell with coolness looking has appeared and helped the T-cell.
Where am I?
You are in the virus cells.
Viruses? Who are they?
They are microscopic particles that exist almost everywhere on Earth. And the virus's presence is obligatory intracellular parasite. And they are a cellular infectious agent and they need a host to multiply, such as animals, plants, and other living organisms, to cause disease. And their metabolic is inert outside host cells and they have a special replication cycle.
Alright, which one of them is the culprit? Who caused conjunctivitis and fever to this poor woman?
This was Zika, a single-stranded RNA. He has stepped in here by a mosquito. And it's been 3 days since he entered. And he's gonna stay here for a week before the anti-cells recognize him.
The killer T-cell was silent for a brief moment, then to ask again,
Did Zika cause all of this damage even for the internal bleeding and impede the kidney's function?
It was Ebola. He rolled himself through the bat soap and it's attacking the RBCs.
I have been here for 4 days and I will stay for 2 more weeks. I won't live here until I let her live to perdition, and also I have a single-stranded RNA.
T-cell fell in silence again, sadly looking to the biggest one of them, asking,
Who is that? He looked terribly weird and I couldn't recognize. What has he done?
The venerable virus, he is Corona. He moved here by another person and just entered the respiratory system and damaged it and caused fever to it. And it's composed of single-stranded RNA.
Looked closely at them and said,
Why are you so different? Aren't you all of the same genus?
They're clone made up of a core of genetic material, either DNA or RNA, and it's surrounded by a protective coat called a capsid, which is made up of a protein. Sometimes that capsid is surrounded by an additional spike coat called the envelope, which helps them to latch into and enter host cells.
The killer T-cell sighed in wonder from what it heard.
And what's the function of this capsid and genetic material?
The phagocytic cell came and ended the wondering, saying,
DNA is the most important part, symbolizes the production of viral proteins, and it is the only infectious part of the virus.
And the capsid protects the core of DNA and has receptor binding.
The phagocytic walked up and said,
You have forgotten something very important, the replication cycle, and it is several steps. A virus attaches to cell and then enters the cell to release genetic material. So a nucleus replicates virus's genetic material, later the organelles in cell reconstruct and make new viruses to break out of cell.
The killer T-cell, still terrified, Woodley was thinking,
What is the way to protect the fetus and its mother?
Straight away, the killer T-cell glimpsed a house on the outskirts of the alleys. Above a tree, it looked as if filled with life. Inside of it, there was a helpless cell, who almost lost its faith in the T-cell, looked to him and said,
You're going to find all of the answers you need inside of this box.
Directly, the killer T-cell opened the book and read out loud,
Washing of humans with their hands killed our blood, and their eating of good food ended our colony, and avoiding insects that are carrying us will reduce our numbers.
The T-cell returned with joy to report what was in the box, but it was too late. It arrived after the 3 viruses killed the fetus. Here we have learned a precious thing that helps us to protect the rest of humanity from their danger. While the Teasel was on its way home walking by the Alice corners, he saw the white ball seal with someone who has a gun that looks like a spherical envelope. Answered him,
Don't worry, I am bacteriophage. I live here to help around secure the area.
How will you help?
We attach to the wall to inject our genetic material so the DNA replicates and translates within the bacterial cell, and the new phage proteins are made. Then it assembled later, the cell lyses and releases the cells.
The Teasel became happy with what happened to him, and so the woman's stomach now is protected from harmful bacteria. And now we go to a place near to where the woman lives, at the bottom of the house, inhabiting lots of plants which began to suffer from tobacco mosaic, which moved to it by the hand of the woman's husband, who hardly can quit tobacco. These plants have become moldy as the virus called tobacco mottled has affected on it, which is like a monster who doesn't leave a plant without disfiguring it. One of the small boys left her home sad from what had happened to her home, and then met a boy playing with his cat, saw her and asked,
You look a frown. What happened?
The virus, who looks like a twisted green cup seed filled with the bumps, has spread all over my house. He entered 10 days ago and gonna continue to spread to everywhere here and stop the plants from growing.
He looked to her again and added,
If the farmer had cleaned the tools, it wouldn't have arrived here. More couple days and it's gonna reach to all the plants here and release the genetic code RNA and produce some viral proteins. Tell them what will happen to them before it arrives.
The boy also has been told he's gonna die too, because he suffers from a heart disease. After several days passed, this virus took all over the plants in the area and made them unable to grow again.
This project has done by روان المنديلي, أزا الصعب, زهرة الهلماني, أميرة البدواني. We are the second year students majored in public health. This brings you to the end of our presentation. We hope it was inspiring and helpful for you.